Briar Road. That sounds familiar. Where does Sherlock Holmes live? Fuck, now I'm curious about that. What's, like, the Baker Street? No, Baker Street. That's what it was. Baker Street, not Briar Road. I was like, is it just like the street he lives on? Maybe that's why he made the deduction. Ah, fantastic. The 19th of February. We have officially gone past the dates in-game relative to recording, because now it's in the February 25th that I'm recording this specific part. So we've officially gone past the dates in the game in real life. Oh, this is a nice little area. I like that little snowman. So this is where it happened, Briar Road. Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at the regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men at Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, but I never dreamt I'd ever come this close. I mean, you're... To a real Bobby's helmet. I mean, you, like, came out here to be a judicial assistant in England. You think it would be part of your expectations rather than something to dream of. What? The helmet? Of course. I have to try one on someday. Well... I hope your Hattie dream comes true. That better happen some point in the game. And they better, like, actually show it, either through artwork or the models. Ah, what's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. Yeah, this isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. Ah, you've been to the holding cells, then. How do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal, as you put it, Inspector. He is a suspect. Yeah, we'll see about that. Your Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. That's racist. Yeah, do what you will. Doesn't bother me. The blokes in court tomorrow, whatever happens. And the verdicts have all gone conclusion. Ah, the stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. That makes it worse somehow, and she's still reading my mind. We're just gonna assume she can read every single thought I have ever known. Yes, well, she was curious about Scotland Yard. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. Ah, the Yard is the most sophisticated policing organization you'll find anywhere in the world, man. Oh, you know I've always dreamed of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who'll take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he just look wonderful? I feel like I found her fetish. If her and Ryunosuke ever get together, he's gonna be wearing that a lot. Ah, being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? He goes round and rouses all the laborers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up. Yep. Raps on the windows with a long bow. Did it myself, going back a bit. I had no idea. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. That's a thing in the modern day, too, with cops, where they are asked to do way more than they really should be doing, given the nature of their training and their positions in society. Which causes problems unto itself, right? After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to go for 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. Can't really imagine how far that is, but sounds like a long way. Let me see. 20 miles. That's, approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. More than a few steps. Oh, and when it gets dark, of course. When it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my! And I suppose in between all those duties, bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly. More alongside, but yeah. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. Oh, good old working conditions of the 1800s. Totally and definitely just, like, completely and utterly reasonable. I always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Wait, what? Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Interesting. Yeah, no, there's definitely elements of the mundanity of real life is a lot less like the fantastics of Hollywood or the books you read or something like that, right? Ah, it happened around 5 in the evening 2 days ago. Just there, that open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is that right, that the lady's still unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in the hospital. I never said she was a lady. What? You said she was a young woman. Okay, how do you define lady if that isn't like a universal term? Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area. I guess if we're saying lady, lord and lady, maybe that's what he's talking about. Here's a map of the local area I have on me. You can take it if you want. Really? Are you sure? It's your odd policy to give lawyers defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record. Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So, who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsumi is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. Indeed. No, I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed by someone else who was around. What? We have 2 very reliable witnesses, no less. You're literally telling me that there are other people around if you have witnesses. And if you don't have witnesses, then you don't have anyone to corroborate the fact that no one else was around. That's like literally how it works, Mr. Gregson. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? Also foggy, so... Who are these witnesses, Inspector? Vello and his wife. The man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. A policeman? Oh, the police would never lie. Ever. Possibly. Never. Ever. Maybe. Possibly. That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment when the woman was attacked. Nothing peculiar about that, man. Parts and parcel of being a bobby. Catching, banging the act and all that. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask what the police, for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. And go out tomorrow. Oh. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. A policeman witnessed the incident. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me. I could have warned me of that too. Indeed. So it was a fellow and his wife. So he wasn't out there like. So if he was with his wife, then presumably he wasn't out there doing his job at the time. He was just. Was it like a day off for him or something? Oh, yes. Sorry, I was using his voice. Oh, yes. One more thing, Inspector. Right. The person who led you to the suspect. I heard that it was Mr. Erlach Sholmes. What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? Color is drained from his cheeks. Ha 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 ha. Did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Sholmes was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Sholmes' great inspirational deductions. Riddle faddle. Ah! The man's an amateur. I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up the scene of a crime. Wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite, astounding, isn't he? He's a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ah. I've seen this before. Oh, yes, that's Rance Magazine. The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Erlach Sholmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the odds detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone in the yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any of Erlach Sholmes' tale at all. Well, I suppose there's an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be frumped by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous as to us at Scotland Yard. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all of our criminals. Which means he does help. I mean, if he's dangerous to the criminals, that can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I would say, in general, he also didn't confirm that he helped in this case. Is he just saying? Maybe he doesn't even know. Interesting. I would definitely say that the police are probably very often don't take too kindly to just outside people doing their job for them in the first place. Like, they'd probably love him. Well, love him if his personality was different for one, and would also love him more if he was part of their rank and file, right? Ah, that twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you gonna defend him or not? Well, it makes no difference to me. But I will just say this. No London lawyer with assault will touch the case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now. It's a waste of time trying. It's all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect yesterday. And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals. The violent ones. Like Mr. McGilded, I can imagine. He would follow that, but, Soseki? Does not seem... Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right. He handpicks his victims. Only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Nasumi wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely. Ah, that's just my point, sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but it didn't kill her. I didn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to stick its teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taking an interest. Really? What sort of a reason, Inspector? I think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness. You have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are you really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as they put it. Or as other people might understand this reference, because I just watched it in an anime, a black bear. It makes no sense. That is so much more funny to me referencing something that I saw like yesterday. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruto, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. Speak with... You saying him makes me feel like I know who it's going to be. By him, do you mean... Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Erlock Sholmes. Exactly! Look at the shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsumi did blame Mr. Sholmes for all this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address. It's Baker Street. Okay, she remembered. She definitely remembered. We have no idea of the man's address even. So how? Okay, to get through that entirely. How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221 Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. I knew it was something like that, yeah. Oh, I see. Well, I guess there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. Also, if he's famous, that feels like a very inconvenient thing to, like, give out your real... Is it, like, not going to be his real address? Or is he stupid enough to actually do that? Well, we better try to find our way before Suzato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage! Where are we gonna live? Where are we gonna sleep tonight? So we're gonna have a reunion already. With the great detective, Mr. Erlock Sholmes. He does not seem amused. He does not seem amused. Home and office. Okay. Can we really visit, do you think? Oh, pinch me. I'm sure I must be dreaming. It's good that she's a fan. That is, like, actually actionably helpful. Oh.
Thank you very much. It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day. Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Erlock Sholmes.
Okay. Seems more, Who let us inside? So this is where the great detective makes his living. Feels surreal to be here somehow, even though I had no knowledge of him until recently. It is as described in the stories, Mrs. Sato. That is an interesting little contraption over there. That looks very interesting. I do not know what to make of it. Susato-san. Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. A read the story, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism. Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Oh, I suppose I can, yeah.
So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. Ah, she is obsessed. Yep, that's how fans can be. Fanatics. Well, I'm sorry detective friend isn't home at present, so good thing we were able to get inside. Excuse me, is anybody home? Why did... Oh, do we have a visitor? Oh. Oh, are you associated with, Are you associated... I know you're, like, on the, like, cover art and stuff like that. So I'm not too surprised you're associated with him, but... Hello. Is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello.
Wait.
Aren't you? Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. I see some on the table already. I'm sure it's the same girl. Mrs. Otto, do you see that girl who was just here? Oh, yes. Isn't it truly extraordinary? Ah, to think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of Bohemia? King Wilhelm Gottschriek... Okay, I need to actually... King Wilhelm Gottschriek Sigismund von Ormstein, of course. I need to actually, like, look at that syllable by syllable. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Bohemia. Like, I know, like, Bohemian Rhapsody. Is that like a region in Europe or something? I feel like that probably is a region in Europe. Especially given the name, it didn't sound like particularly... It sounded very European in terms of that. So, I don't know. I don't know. I think there's like a very notable... Like, the reason Bohemian Rhapsody is Bohemian Rhapsody. Like, there's some, like, really notable historical thing there that I'm just drawing a blank on, too. Forget the adventures of Erlach Sholmes for a moment and look over there! The tea's brewed, and I have a freshly baked cake as well. Ah! Oh, it's you! I knew it! Satsan recognizes her, too. Yeah. This wasn't that long ago. I'm taking that with you as well. Interesting. Oh, are we gonna find that other, like, urchin girl here, too? It's the girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilded's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Oh, yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that color? I have no idea what. I don't drink tea. Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavor. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here. And you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're here to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots of luck. Okay. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, Shirley. Wait, Hurley? Oh my goodness. If he says, and don't call me Shirley, or don't call me Hurley at some point, that'd be a fantastic reference. Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today. even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. Okay, back. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholm's suite? Oh, silly me, I haven't introduced myself, have I? No, you haven't. It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. Okay. Not a name I recognize in any form. I live here together with Hurley. Iris, is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait. This can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson? Wilson! Okay, what's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Is this also a name I should recognize? Oh, then again, maybe it's a name that's been changed for the same reason Sherlock Holmes was changed. Yes, that's right. And what are your names? Sorry, one second. And what are your names? Okay, Wilson. I am Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely. Susie and Runo. Got it. Okay, those are interesting. Susie? And Runo. There's more to this girl than meets the eye. I have so many questions for her, I don't even know where to start. Yes, and so do I. Okay, oh! A street at the local area showing where the victim is found. Oh, okay. Maybe I should have presented that to what's-his-face. Oh, could I... Oh, how exciting! What is it? Tell me all about it! Oh, actually, I was hoping you might be able to tell me something about it if anything comes to mind. What? Why would it? Well, no, I suppose it wouldn't. Tell me! I want to hear everything! This isn't going according to plan. I do like that, like, inquisitive sort of, like, you just show her something irrelevant and it's just like, ooh, I want to learn everything about this now. Okay, same thing. So... Very cutesy over here. Fits her. Less cutesy over her, but this has more mechanical stuff going on. So... Which seems to fit her if she's, like, an inventor of stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that this is Herlock's side. This is Herlock's side, or they're both her side. No, the other one's probably his. It is a bigger chair too. Interesting. You know the Wilson thing first. Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course. Go ahead, Susie. I am a very great fan of the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, and... Oh, you have a copy of France Magazine? Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is so exciting. My stories are being read on the other side of the world. Your story? Are you the writer? My stories. That's right. Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I was the only one who ever heard of them, you know? Don't you think? Goodness. Last night, he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship traveling from a faraway... Oh no, did he not mention me? So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call the latest adventure The Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course, I always change one or two details in the story, here and there. This time, I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. That's a significant change. Oh, that was Mr. Sholm's first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I know that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but it's a story! Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think, don't you? So, do you mean to say... Oh, you're getting a taste of how many lies there are in these. Are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in the Rants magazine all written by me? Yes, on my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. Oh, okay, so it's a Wilson to a Watson to Wilson. Okay. Okay, so wait, is she supposed to be Watson then? Sasada-san's getting more and more worked up. Yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the doctor of medicine part? That's all true too. I am a doctor of medicine. No, at 10 years old. At 10 years old. Wait, she's 10? Oh, no. Oh, the internet's gonna be weird, isn't it? Reminder, future Echo. Never Google this character. That's quite incredible. But Dr. Wilson is an English gentleman. Yes. I did alter the settings slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. Well, it sounds a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow? I mean, it sounds extremely strange. Maybe less so back in the 1800s when, yeah, people were probably more, like, not thinking that was so incredibly very suspicious and weird. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Sasada-san. She looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. Yes. How do you feel about your taking in of everything? Well, now that we know Iris, I guess we now know Iris. Also, when did she start writing these? She is 10 years old, right? When did she start writing these? Like, was she like 6 or something? Because obviously they had to have been around for quite some time and to become as famous as they have, right? It isn't like it just came up in the last year or so. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey. Oh, yes, that's right. You're ever so helpful. Thank you very much. Oh, no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Yep. Quite like this? Yes, quite like that. Thinking back on it now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Guinea? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket. Professional? What makes someone a professional? So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly. So I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism in my inventions. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Guinea back here after that, so she could apologize to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician. Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock. Herlock Sholmes. We live here together. I had no idea the great detective had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Oh, not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what is your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Complicated and potentially illegal. Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? I mean, that's true to Watson and Holmes, but like that. I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year. Okay, so we sort of skipped that part by going to the other one first. Okay. 10 at last this year. Well, what of your mother and father? Dead! Yay! Oh no, they're not around. Yeah, you could sort of see that from a mile away. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. Well, actually, that doesn't necessarily mean they're dead. They could be, like, off gallivanting around the world or something. They could have been killed by the Reaper of the Bailey. About before. Yes. What's in your mind, Runa? Oh, do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer? That we just arrived in London, I mean. Yes. Oh, and that we have a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Yeah, I don't think Herlock would know that at this point, unless he's really in on the case. Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her logic and reasoning spectacular! Oh, wait, are we gonna do this again? First of all, I already knew that you were a lawyer, Runo. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said that we'd only just arrived in London. How do you know that? I observed the passport and travel tickets protruding from your breast pocket, which you still have despite... Okay. Oh. Whoops. So I was reasonably confident that you must only have just arrived into the country. It did, yeah, only just arrived could have been in the last few days, even. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey. Yeah, I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. Oh, has that been there the whole time? I haven't noticed that. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with the suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see? I didn't realize. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you had only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilden, the two of you had already caused to visit a foreign inmate at a local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. But how could have you known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It obviously amused him. He told me that he caught a Japanese man who was bawling and trembling. God, he's like I could actually imagine him just laughing his ass off at that. A Japanese man. Well, clearly that must have been Mr. Natsume. Now, Rune has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both come from Japan yourself. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending Japanese man Hurley caught. There is a few logical jumps there. There could have been other foreign people. But yes, that does seem like something that you could put together, but it is definitely a logical jump to say it so confidently. There's only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. Right, but there's also a lot of other people in the criminal system, so... yeah. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, she's not wrong, but also... if we were like an actual real-life situation, there would be so many unknown factors that you couldn't say that with such confidence. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Oh. Okay. Hurley's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you see. He is silly. Okay. How does he get so many knives? Why does he have so many knives? And that's all there was to it, really. Should I be suspicious that he has... Should I be suspicious of the fact that he has enough knives to make a habit of stabbing his notes with knives? Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson. That was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction, like better than fucking Sherlock's. Or Herlock's. You even managed the certain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery. Oh, well, I was just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please? Don't have any reason not to. Ask that. Okay, the case of the Japanese man. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems. Interesting. So I was like, literally, like, he just got back and he, like, if it was yesterday morning, apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. Briar Road still sounds very familiar to me. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume, beyond any doubt. Sasaki-san said that he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. That does confirm it, at least. Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly did hit the mark this time. Of course it did. He's a great detective. He'll never mess up on anything ever. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it all, apparently. Oh dear. I didn't realize the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is, but in that case, should we really be trying to learn from that? I don't hold out much hope for Sasaki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I had so much fun. What was that look? Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guess, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Well, I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Natsume... Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you could probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Do you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you're there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Ah, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Oh my fucking goodness. Iris's postcard has been entered with a message on the back from Iris. Can we read it? It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? I mean, he hasn't really been uncooperative outside of not letting us talk to the witness. Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Fantastic. Good luck, then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band, and I'll be making more special blends of tea. So come back again soon. I wonder if she's gonna, like, cut our involvement out at all. Or what the fuck, like, Herlock even... So this is, like... So the stories are, like, a fun game of, like, telephone, aren't they? Shit actually happens. Herlock, through his special enthusiasm, probably, like, changes a lot of details through that, and then she changes it again to up the thrill factor, which means I wonder how much of these stories are, like, quote-unquote true in this, like, setting. Like, 50% maybe? Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. That we can do. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all, we headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. To be continue. Okay. Is this going to be an investigation-heavy case then? It does make a good place for me to end my recording for the day, at the very least. I imagine it's got to be, I imagine it's got to be a investigation-heavy case then. If we're going to have multiple parts of investigation. Then again, like, was there any... I'm trying to remember episode 2. Was there even any trial as part of that? There's a lot of investigation and then the deduction part, which was basically the trial itself, wasn't it? You know, I really, like, major props to this game for, like, taking the typical format and turning it sort of on its head in a way that makes the, like, narrative of everything really flow much less gamey-like than the games can typically be, where it's, like, very distinct sections and stuff like that in the previous games. And this one is able to, like, gamify elements of the narrative, the deductions, all that sort of stuff, the trials even, and make it feel very natural in how it plays out and makes it feel like a proper flowing narrative the entire time. It's very much like one of those fantastic ways where when you talk about, like, gameplay serving the story or story serving the gameplay, where the gameplay really is serving the story fantastically and how they've implemented it just throughout this. It's like, it would be hard to deny that this is, like, one of the best implementations of, like, all the various systems, just because of how well it makes the narrative flow and just how it's done, right? Like again, maybe it's just been a long time since I've, like, properly played games in the series, and my expectations have just sort of, like, went the way of my memory of them. But, like, just, like, full praise for how well this has been put together so far. They know what story they want to tell, and they've developed tools within the game of the gameplay elements to tell it very well, right? And that's the thing that I'm impressed by. So, I'll leave it there for the day, and I'll come back another time. Until then, drive safely, everyone.